הרדיו הבינתחומי. בינתחומי. 106.2 FM. הרדיו הבינתחומי. הרדיו החינוכי של המרכז הבינתחומי. לכל ישראל. 106.2 FM.
Terrorism's global impact. Highlights from the ICT's 11th International Conference. With Idan Landau.
Good morning and welcome to the IDC Radio on 106.2 FM and 106.2fm.co.il on the internet. We're here for a special broadcast from the 11th World Summit on Counter Terrorism, hosted by the International Institute for Counterterrorism. I'm Idan Landau and I'm here with Dr. Markus Hellenthal, who is former CEO and President of Thales, Deutschland, former CEO and Business Unit Global Security of EADS, and former Chief of Border Guards and Aviation Security of the Federal Republic of Germany. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
It's a pleasure. I understand that you're going to be taking part of the workshop on what's next, future terrorist scenarios and technological means to counterterrorism.
That's correct, yes.
And what will you basically be discussing in this workshop?
Well, my major point I want to get across is that looking at all of the advances we have in terms of technology, globalization, interdependencies of businesses across the borders, collaboration of the security organizations is of utmost importance. This is evident, and we have done this very much over the last centuries, you can say. In particular, of course, over the last 10 or 20 years, things have improved. But the architecture of the way how we produce security as societies has also become very complex. So my plea is to reduce complexity by a more seamless cooperation of various special security organizations, and to work more collaboratively with the people on the ground.
I see. The last couple of years, we have seen terrorists go to extremes in order to place a bomb on a plane. Whether it was in an ink cartridge placed inside a printer or in their own underpants, as we've seen Christmas just about a year ago. What's next, explosive dogs?
Well, I think the people on the other side, the criminals, the terrorists, are looking for how, in a most efficient way, they can reach their goal. And this is sometimes just getting money for organized criminals, for example, or getting political attention to the utmost. So they will seek any possibility how to hurt our society to the utmost. So they are looking always for ways to get to this end with the most easiest way. So they are looking for the ways to peek into our critical infrastructures, for example, by bringing in bombs where this is possible. And of course we see around us a very vulnerable society. Our societies only work with critical infrastructures. We call them critical because our societies would turn down if they don't work, like transportation means. So the critical infrastructures are for sure the aim of terrorist attacks in particular, to get utmost attention. With what means they do this depends on how easy it is to get explosives or certain instruments to get something which is of significance to the media, to the public awareness of lack of security when such events happen. So they are, you can say, business people in their own sense. They are looking to maximize their effort. So where to disguise and how to disguise explosives or chemical weapons depends on their ability to find a suitable way to get this to the place where they want it to be.
Well, if we're going back to the attempt to blow up those 2 cargo planes a year ago, it would seem that they're actually spending less money and less resources in developing the bombs, or actually producing them. We haven't seen many attacks. I mean, there were only a few of them, but it seems as if it's easier for them to produce them, and yet we're spending enormous amounts of resources to try to throw out this. And it seems like the void is the difference between the two is growing and growing. Does it make any sense in today's more advanced technological arena?
Well, certainly it makes sense. We need to secure our society. So the biggest challenge and task for police at large is to prevent criminal acts or disorder to happen. Any necessity to respond is a proof that the prevention did not work to the end. So prevention is what it's all about, and to prevent these kind of things to happen, we need to take the appropriate measures, irrespective, of course, of how and what criminals do. On the other side, the criminals and terrorists just, they have time, they have resources, they can try 100 times, even with cheap things. It's also a question of, thinking security. Take the printer case. Isn't it strange to think of sending a $50 printer from the high-tech country Yemen to the low-tech third country California? So this is also something where we could bring together intelligence with such kind of procedures to help to pinpoint potential risks. So we are speaking about prevention, risk management. We have to take into account the points you just made and bring it together in a collaborative manner across border. And again, this Yemen case is such a case where cross-border collaboration in the end has prevented any harmful result of this action.
Do you feel that what's hindering our efforts is more on the intelligence part as opposed to the technological part?
Let me say it this way around. Technology alone, if you believe technology would solve the issues, this would be a wrong assumption. Technology is a means to do something. So the people using technology, and the more complex it is, the more it necessitates a network of people collaborating on a certain technology, which should be integrated in a broader system of instruments to counteract on possible threats. So technology is a means, is an important means, and in particular in certain areas like CBNR, we need sensors, more intelligent sensors, more cheaper sensors, more real-time sensors. Today we have in the field sensors. When they sniff something, it's more or less something you will identify after the fact and not before.
Yes.
So we need more automated, networked, real-time sensors which give an alarm the moment they sniff something. So there are areas where we do need certainly new and more advanced technologies, but again, if they stand alone, if they give an alarm and the whole system is not there to take this up and react in an appropriate manner, then it doesn't work. It comes together. It's human being. This is the first thing. Trained human beings who are trained to work within a group of various resources, various groups, various organizations. We need to have processes. We need to have people who are able, in the event that the plan does not cater for a certain situation, are able to make their own judgments. Because you can never plan what can happen in the end, and then you need to have the technology. So it needs to come together.
I want to take you back a little bit to more the border guard aviation security. Different countries use different methods. Some of them are more reliant on technology. Some of them are more reliant on the human factor. What's the right formula? With all I know we touched a lot about this right now, but specifically to aviation security, considering the infringement on human rights or civil liberties would be the proper phrase.
Well, when you start with the theme civil liberty, I think our civil societies are only able to continue to exist if we understand that security, first of all, is something we need to do something for to achieve it. It's an everyday work to respond to potential threats and to try to prevent them to escalate, which means risk management. And applying risk management is something which does mean that a police officer is able and supposed to differentiate between different situations, different people. So the famous police nose is something which guides a police officer to check one thing and not to check something else. In the time when Schengen was not applied in Europe, so until the beginning of the 90s, 50% of all warrants in Germany have been executed at the borders.
Okay.
Although we did not have a 100% check of every passenger or traveler. So this proves that the nose of the police officer is something which is kind of a natural application of risk management. And what we see today in aviation is, in some countries, the exact opposite. Because of fear to interfere with civil rights, people believe we have to apply everything in the same way to everybody, and therefore we have these long queues. And the more globalization took up again after 9/11 and after the financial crisis, we now are back to the normal development of more and more traffic. At some point in time, it will just not be possible. So we need to apply risk management. And I'm not saying profiling, I'm saying risk management. So this, supported with the right technology, will help to improve the through flow on the airports. And we have not even spoken about ground transportation.
Yes, of course. It's a big issue on its own.
And this is indeed a big issue, and people are afraid of speaking about this because if we would think this through, we would come to the conclusion it might be of similar danger or of similar importance as the aviation, with the only exception you can stop a train, you cannot stop easily a plane without letting it fall down.
Yes.
But still you would try to think about implementing certain security measures also in the ground transportation arena, which we didn't have, which we don't do until now because of the problems I just said. How do we apply proper risk management without the media, for example, pinpointing on alleged infringements of civil rights because of unequally applying certain control measures?
I see. I want to talk about cyber terrorism. It seems that this is the new, relatively new type of terrorism that's going on around the world. What is actually cyber terrorism?
That's a good question. I think this is a discussion currently going on with like 10 years ago with a normal terrorist attack. What is it really? We still don't have a precise definition where everybody subscribes to for the normal terrorist attack. For the cyber terrorist attack, you need to also differentiate between the various things, to say it this way, which do happen. We see many kids doing extreme things which are very dangerous to our critical infrastructures. We have companies or organizations which are going after these kind of cyber attacks. Is it terrorism? Actually, I don't know. I think the main point of importance is here that we have come to a point in using the internet or information and communication technology as we have it today in a very merged way. Everything is digitalized a long time without taking the necessary precautions that this media could be misused. So we need to start to think about how to securing the way how people can use the internet, the digitalized world, and to prevent then criminal acts or terrorist acts from happening on or via the internet. And Stuxnet is perhaps today, like Estland, one of the two most important examples where you see that certain infrastructures have been attacked to achieve a downturn of an industry or of a company, of a production site, with then certain follow-on events which could happen.
Is it difficult to counter cyber terrorism?
Well, it's a race, right? It's a race after these new cyber activities which try to infiltrate into computers or even embedded systems which were not connected to the internet, as was the case in the Stuxnet attack. It is difficult because, as with normal attacks, to prevent something you need to know or have an idea what is supposed to happen. And as the IT development is very fast, so is the cyber criminality developing very fast with everyday new tools, everyday new methods of making things even more disguised, and getting after this and quicker in identifying certain misuse of the internet is the call of the day. And therefore, again, here, cooperation, bringing together experts, very sophisticated experts to analyze what is happening in the internet, is today what you see in many countries. You see countries bringing up teams of internet specialists. Do they do enough? Do they work together sufficiently? I doubt this. What I see today is something following the fragmentation of security organizations we have today in many countries. So different police organizations start to create their own teams. So we have there 3 people, there are 10 people, there are 2 people working all on the same theme, instead of saying, okay, we have here one society, one state, let's join forces, let's do a shared service center for IT criminality, put all of our resources together, and so to increase the efficiency of what we are doing here, not to the expense of reducing security at large, but the opposite. So a lot is being done today. Are we already at the top of the development? I'm sure we are not. So this is also an area where our security organizations are working very heavily to improve, but there are still areas for improvement.
If I'm thinking about the terrorists themselves, could you define or actually point out what is the difference between the regular terrorist that we know to a cyber terrorist in the sense of his personality or his ideology?
I don't think that I'm the right one to speak about this more specifically. What I would like to respond here is that most probably the world of criminality and terrorism is as fragmented, as dispersed, as multifaceted as anything else in our world. So you will have every kind of type of person, any type of motivation. And as we started off in the beginning, I think terrorists or other organized criminals seek means to achieve something. And using the internet and the vulnerability of our digitalized, globalized societies is a very good means to achieve something. Our critical infrastructures, our transportation systems, our critical industry production sites heavily depend, work upon IT systems. So there are a lot of areas where vulnerability can be used to achieve something. So these people are looking for easy ways to achieve their goals. So they will look for the necessary for possibilities to make this happen. And then I believe it depends also on the intellectual capability of the people involved. Do they have IT literate people? If so, they could use also the internet to as a lever for their end goal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hellenthal, for coming here with us and joining us. And I wish you a productive workshop today.
Thank you very much. Most welcome. I'm glad that I was able to speak with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
הרדיו הבינתחומי